Most sales managers say they want freedom, but the way they lead means they'll never have it. They're on every call, checking every stat, chasing every rep. The moment they stop watching, performance dips. That's not leadership. That's called babysitting. If you want a sales team that truly runs without you, it's not about cloning yourself. It's about installing systems, tracking hiring, and clarity. These are the 4 foundations that will make you redundant in the best possible way. And here's how I actually do it. And just for context, we run hundreds of sales reps within these companies and manage them all without me. Point number 1 is to build systems that replace yourself with structure. Most managers think presence equals performance, so they build a dependence instead of design. When I got my first sales team, I had just been promoted from a sales rep to a sales manager. So I had a chip on my shoulder. I wanted to prove myself that I was the right person for the job, but I was working every single hour. But it felt right because I had a chip on my shoulder, so I had to learn the hard way. I had to run every meeting, every one-on-one. Every single time I would be the first one before the team to set an example. I'd be the last one to leave. I realized I was the hardest working sales manager. It was the right thing to do at the time because it taught me how to run the team and I set the right expectation for the team. But eventually I had to build systems that now the team can perform when I'm not there. And it happened the first time I went on holiday. I went to Thailand in 2017. Don't ask me what I did on this holiday. Chaos. And when I went to Thailand, I knew I was going to be off for 10 days. And I was thinking, when I'm off for 10 days, what can I do to make sure performance doesn't dip? I just could not have commission dip. I was known as the best sales manager in the business. I already had won this accolade for the award of the best sales manager that's come in. And I just didn't want to let the performance slide. So I got one of the sales reps to say, right, you're going to be the one who's going to be the one watching the team. I got another sales rep to say, you're going to be the one who's going to be watching the team. Because they both wanted to be promoted. And these guys, they wanted to become sales managers in the future. And they both were asking for it. So I was like, I'm going to develop both of you. So I had a team meeting and saying, right, these two, they're going to get their own tasks and own responsibilities. I gave one lad his responsibilities, the other guy his responsibilities. And now systematized everything that I do in the week. And I gave it over to them. This was the first holiday that I had where I did not check my phone. I was like, I'm going to delete all the communication off my phone. I'm not going to look at it. And I wanted to trust the team. And I told them, I'm trusting you guys. I'm building the system. You're going to go ahead and do this stuff. When I came back, performance was amazing. The reason why was they wanted to prove themselves as sales managers. So they had a chip on their shoulder that they also wanted to do good. But they had a checklist of everything that I did. Literally everything. When I get into the office in the morning, the first thing that I did was check the appointments in the morning, look through all the appointments, get all of them confirmed. That's the first thing I did every single morning. Then look at the dashboard. Gave one of the guys the dashboard task, one of the guys the task on confirm their appointments. Very quickly, I realized this sales team could run without me. When I'm back from holiday and they've already performed better because of the systems that I've built, that was the first time that I thought a sales team, they need an example, they need a manager, they need a leader, they need to have accountability to someone. You can build systems and checklists to be able to get the team to perform without you. I'm going to give you a checklist that we give to our sales manager and it's for free. I'm going to link it right in the description of this video. There's no opt-in for it. You don't need to buy anything or do anything like that. Just click onto the description. You can just take the document and you can use it and it'll have all the list of things that currently one of our sales managers is doing in the business. So take that list and use it to start understanding what a sales manager does and how do we actually build a checklist and how simple we make it look. Every missing system becomes your new responsibility. Systems turn leadership from reaction into rhythm. That means documenting every core process. You want to try to automate every repetitive task or maybe use some AI and get it done by a VA assistant. You want to create dashboards that replace manual check-ins, all the dashboards that need the normal data entry points so they can populate themselves. Define how decisions are made without you. What decision needs to be made? What data needs to be looked at? How can that decision be made without me? A real manager builds systems so good that their team doesn't even notice they're gone. But systems are only as strong as the visibility behind them. And that's what tracking takes over. And in point number 2, it's about tracking. And I'd go on and on about tracking with every sales manager because visibility creates accountability. Most managers lead from a feeling, intuition, not from facts. They go off the sense of how they're feeling. Hey, I feel like the setting team could be calling more. Payroll proves otherwise. You need to know exactly the numbers so you know how to make those decisions. I had a sales manager on a call recently who works for an education online business. And this business, I asked him, what is the thing stopping you from working? What is the thing that you're working on this week? He said, I'm just training the team to get better. I said, what do you mean you're training the team? Because in my experience, anytime a sales manager says, I'm just working on sales training, it means they don't look at data. Data is the first thing they look at. Sales training is one of the things that they need to do. Most amateurs think it's all about sales training. Sales managers manage data and tracking. I asked him, this week, I want you to manage how many setting calls get booked into closing calls, just that number. So he kept his eye on it. He said, okay, this week we did 50 calls that went from setting call to closing call. That's how many calls the setting team booked. I said, okay, now find out that number for the last 12 weeks. He went back and wrote down that number for the last 12 weeks. You know, in the week that he focused on it, he had 50. In every other week, he had 20, 24, 28, 29. It was just like up and down and nowhere near 50. And as soon as he put all of his efforts on focusing on that number, he had almost double the setting calls happen. Why was that? Well, his attention was focused on it. So each week, a sales manager has to know exactly where their focus is based upon tracking. What needs to be improved this week? Is it total dials? Is it connected calls? Is it how many calls went from setting to closing? Was it the show rate? Most people just look at show rate and close rate. They don't look at all the other 15 metrics. And we call it in our baseline tracker. And if you want to get some coaching on the baseline tracker, if you go into our free community in the guided growth community below, you can see a free resource on the baseline tracker that we can coach you on how to use it. And it's an incredible resource. If you want to watch a video on the Sales Manager Tracker, there's a video in the channel that you can find all around the Sales Manager Tracker to show you how we get the top of funnel to bottom funnel metrics and how we can get a sales manager to improve week on week. What you don't track, you can't transform. Tracking gives the truth to your systems. That means daily visibility on calls, sets, closes, and revenue. Every metric needs to be visible. And then you need to have automatic alerts when performance drops. So when you look at your dashboard, it needs to look flashing red so you can do something about it. You need to have weekly reviews comparing individual performance to team averages. So you can see who's lagging behind, who's doing good. You want to have public dashboards so no one hides behind average, so everyone can see the data. Salespeople need to be working out in the open. When the numbers tell the story, emotion leaves the conversation. You stop chasing and start coaching. But you know data doesn't drive itself. You need the right people behind the wheel. And that's where hiring comes in. Point 3 is hiring, bringing in builders, not babysitters. Most managers think that culture will just fix itself. They fill a seat and they hope the standards would build. They don't really understand standards. They don't understand culture. How do you create culture? Culture is defined by how others behave when the leader is not there. I can tell you this, most sales teams, as soon as the sales manager is not there on holiday, they're mucking about, they're not doing their job, they're not trying. Deals go down, deal size goes down, close rates go down, dials go down, just because the sales manager is not there. I dare you, go and take a day off. If you're a sales manager, look at the day the sales manager goes off and you'll see a dip in your sales team's performance because they're not being watched. They need accountability all the time. But if you hire the right people and you coach them on it and you know the right people to look out for, you're going to be able to find the killers. Think about let's say there's 25 sales reps in a room and you can hire all of them. And all of them are going to talk their shit and say, yeah, I'm the best one. I've got this close rate, that close rate. They look good in role plays. But how are you going to assess who is the guy that will stay behind and work? Who is the guy that will log in on the week when you didn't even know that you were supposed to? How you assess for this is you ask culture, mission, vision-based questions. You'll ask them, can you tell me a time where you've gone above and beyond to hit a target? Can you tell me a time where you've done X to achieve something that you feel as though you're proud of? These answers will tell you the type of behavior they have, the type of ability they have. When I had my interview for a sales rep at a job for at 23, the sales manager said to me, tell me something that you've done to get sales that you would never expect. And I told him I knocked door to door and knocked on doors all throughout winter, and every single door I knocked on, I got slammed in the face, I got chased by dogs, and eventually I got a sale. And I got my first sale after knocking 750 doors. It's not a joke. 750 doors I knocked before getting up my first sale on this door knocking job. Do you know, that's when he hired me, because he knew this guy's relentless. He kept going. He knocked on 100 doors and he didn't stop. 200 doors and he didn't stop. He knocked on 750 doors, and then what ended up happening was I realized every 750 doors I knock, I get a sale. I was just not very good at sales. Eventually my sales skills improved and that ratio dropped. But But initially, when I was being interviewed, he spotted that I was that type of character to just keep knocking on doors relentlessly, and I was coachable and I would improve. You need to be able to ask the questions in the hiring stages. And there's 3 hiring stages that you need to have. You need to have your culture-based interview, which is you find out who they are. Are they a good person? Do they do what they say? Number 2 is skills. You assess their skills. You see, are they competent? You do drills. You might even get them to call the leads. You might even get them to do a live role play with you. You want to have the closest proximity to the job itself as much as you can. And then if you're still not sure, send out assessment. For our consultants who work on our B2B businesses, we'll send out assessments that will assess all their levels of knowledge. And we want to be able to see how they answer their questions. Number 3 is the offer-based call, where you go through the offer and then you're going to give them that last bit of scare. You'll say, hey man, this job, I'm really demanding. I'm going to need a lot more effort from you. I'm going to need all this. I'm going to need you to go above and beyond because we're really going to need your help. And you're going to see, are they the right character? You're just going to say, hey, what would happen if you're working 9 till 5 and I just ask you one day, could you come in at 7? How would you feel about that? Ask them those questions, because then you're going to know, are they the right fit for your business? And building out these systems for hiring, knowing the different stages, having a hiring board. We have a ClickUp hiring board that we use, and our recruitment director will manage that entire hiring board and be able to take prospects that come in our recruitment funnel, and he'll take them through, and then he'll be able to start placing them into companies. And he'll have different levels of each stage, a group interview, assessments, and all these different stages. These are all systems you have to build as a sales manager. And the one thing that you want to remember is you want to hire slow and align fast. Hiring isn't about finding talent. It's about filtering for alignment. And that means you want to have clear scorecards for every single role. If you don't know exactly what you want and you can't define it, do not hire for the role. You need to know exactly what you need. So you want to have value-based interview questions. Tell me a time that you took ownership. You want to have your 30-day onboarding checklist ready so they can hit those KPIs. So a checklist needs to be there before they start the job. You want to have continuous development paths so they can grow and they never stall in terms of their development. When you hire builders, you don't need to babysit. They uphold the system and improve it. But even the best people, they can't execute without direction. That's why the final pillar is clarity, and it holds everything together. Point 4, when I'm talking about this last thing about clarity, it might sound vague and woo-woo. It's the mission, vision, and value. And mission is, why do we exist? My business exists because I experienced poor sales leadership all throughout my 20s. I saw it again and again. So now I own a business teaching sales leadership. Your vision is where you want to go. We want to be a 9-figure business. We want to hit all of our targets to be the best in sales management training. We want a best advisory business for our B2B clients. We want to have all of these things. We want to have a clear vision about how we want to change the industry, how we want to change the outlook on sales leadership, and how we can change sales people. And then the values are how we're going to behave. The values of my business are an extension of my own values. I love speed. I love proactive execution. I love someone who's just got a winning mindset. So those values are in the business. So as soon as someone starts, we assess, do they have those values? When they start the job, they watch a video of me talking about those values. When we run our morning meeting, we talk about those values. Those values come up again and again. And then I mention the mission all the time and why this business exists. I talk about the vision on where we're trying to go. You have to mention it until you're absolutely sick of it. You just mention it over and over again. You talk about it relentlessly. And then you reward people on those values. So when someone in our business upholds one of those values, we reward them, we recognize them, and then they will be reinforced through that behavior again. Imagine only paying someone when they make commission. That's setting an expectation that the business only cares about money. But imagine rewarding them when they take care of a customer, when they go above and beyond for a customer. So we have a consultant who recently went above and beyond for our client. We actually publicly celebrated him. And then I sent him a gift voucher, sent him a dinner voucher. I just asked him, what else can I do for you? Because when someone is representing your business and doing it to that level, it all goes down to them being aligned and rowing in the same direction. We need everyone rowing in the same direction. And just to wrap all this up, a sales team that runs itself isn't built on your personality. It's built on a system. It's built on tracking and hiring and clarity. And freedom doesn't come from stepping back. It comes from building forward. You know you've done it right when you stop chasing results and just start reviewing them. That's leadership. You're not being on every call because you create a team that wins even when you're not watching. If you want more videos like this on sales leadership, click on the right hand side. You can watch this video and it'll teach you the next tactic after you now know how to create your world-class sales team.